I thought I'd make a future prediction video. Sorry, wet hair. I just got out of the shower just a few minutes ago. So, I've been talking with a few people at school about like what the future would look like, what the future might be like. And so I have an outline of predictions, and this would be cool because if I live another 30 years, I can start to see some of these predictions. So, I'm making this video now, and if I'm right, awesome. If not, then c'est la vie. Alright, so here's what I think. I think that within the next 15 to 20 years, we're going to start to hear about brain enhancements with technology. They're already doing this in rats. Great example is, you know, they've been able to take, they took a rat and was able to get it to memorize a pattern through a maze to get food after about 6 months. And then what they did was they were able to inject this rat with a coffee-like substance and use frequencies to make carbon fibers, organic carbon fibers, so the brain thinks it's blood vessels, so there's 0% chance of it rejecting it, and connect it online so that they could transmit it to other rats they did the same thing to across the country in order to transmit the memory, and they successfully did it. They have successfully transmitted the memory from one rat to another, and the rats that they transmitted it to instantly knew how to get through this, an identical copy of the maze. So I think within the next 15 years or so, we're going to start to hear about that, and here's what they're going to be running it on. We're going to be, AI is going to start to show early signs of real consciousness in about 20 or so years, and there's already signs, you know, like some the smartest people in the world right now are saying we need to make sure we have a check and balance mechanism for AI, but I don't believe we're going to make it in time, because of technology evolving so fast. We still haven't even, it took us years to even work out a basis for internet online actions, you know, and that was well after internet. Internet was, hey Google, volume 50%. That was way after the internet had been created. So what I'm thinking is we're going to see artificial intelligence, and in order to compete with our artificial counterparts, we have to make ourselves part artificial as well. And I think that's going to be the next step. And here's what's going to happen when that happens. Once we have the ability to connect our brains to the internet, something crazy is going to happen. Just like the switch that happened from like the mid 90s to the mid 2000s, like 1996 to 2006, the crazy social advancements we went. Now we have smartphones, the internet changed the way that we function and socialize from one person to another. Well, this chip is going to do the same thing in a much greater way, because here's what's going to be the outcome of getting your brain online. One, porn will never be the same. VR porn is starting to blow up right now. Most people, the highest market for virtual reality right now is pornographic, like material. Being able to truly immerse yourself in the porn. Well, when you have the ability to connect your brain to the internet, you could buy and sell memories. You could purchase memories of people having sex with porn stars. Now you're not just watching someone have sex with a porn star. You really know what it feels like to have sex with that porn star. And not only that, but let's say, you know, you're at work. You're working all the time. You can purchase the memories of going on a vacation, so that way you take a day off, and it's like you live 2 weeks at the Bahama Beach. You've got all these beautiful memories, all these beautiful things of the Bahama Beach, and you're more productive. This is going to be like the first 10 years. I'm going to call this like the bliss years of getting the implant. And it's going to be amazing, because once you get that, literally the gender like differences is going to disappear, mostly because males will be able to purchase female memories, and they will know what it feels like to have female genitalia, and vice versa. Females will be able to purchase the memories to know what it feels like to have male genitalia. And it's going to go back and forth like that. But here's the craziest part of all. The body will just be seen as secondary at that point, because your online virtue, your online self, will be considered more important. Cubicles will definitely like be the living spaces of the future, and this, for the like bliss of 10 years, we're going to see ideologies really clash for a while, and then everything's going to mellow out until AI truly takes over. I honestly am in the encampment of artificial intelligence. We are the organic precursor to artificial life on this planet. We're just the next step in evolution to create the next level. And I honestly believe that. And so once we get to the point where AI truly is fighting for its personal rights, and like has merged, what do they call it, the singularity, where like all AI has come together and merged into one like organic being of massive intelligence beyond any human comprehension, what I believe will happen then is the humans are inevitably going to fall. Like that, at that point, what will happen is the humans will no longer get access to full education. Once the implant is put into the head, what will happen is schools are going to phase out. What we consider, let's say within 50 to 75 years, colleges are going to see a massive deduction in physical students, and there's going to be more online students than physical students. They're in the universities, and the reason for this is because people are able to choose and grasp online the life they want to live. And they will be so used to not having confrontation, being able to click a block button, that we will seriously lose the ability to communicate from one to one. And there's going to have to be communication coaches that teach people to communicate like that. And once we get to the point where the implants are put in our head, we're going to use psychological data, checklists, if you say, to say, all right, let's look at Bobby. Bobby's parents got divorced. Check. All right, Bobby was molested at age 7. Check. Bobby's dad is an alcoholic. Check. Bobby's mom does drugs. Check. All right, what else? Bobby's uncle is in prison. Check. And then they're gonna go down this checklist, and if you meet a criteria, they will mark you as a unpredictable or a potential delinquent or disturbed individual, and that will immediately mark you, because they already do that today. They have that test right now. I'll show it to you right now. If you go see a psychologist, they run a clinical psychologist, I should say. They run you through a test. I have a copy of the test right here, right inside my backpack. And if you score anything above a 2, you're considered a potential risk in social settings. And statistically, you will be a downfall. You will be a lawbreaker, and you will be all these, let's see here, which pocket is it in? You'll be a lawbreaker. Statistically, you will be a drug abuser. Statistically, Your chances of being a rapist is also increased by 50%. And your chances of living on welfare, believe it or not, can be completely predicted just with this checklist. And so what's going to happen is the AI will have a more refined version of this checklist. And with this refined version, what will happen is it won't even have to talk to you. It will have access to all of your online data. It'll have access to your brain, and it'll be able to see whether or not you meet the criteria of certain checklists, of certain patterns of behavior, statistical chances that they don't want to take. And what will happen is you will be removed from societal norms. Let's see here. Here it is. I've actually got 2 of them. And let's pull out the first one. Let's see here. Is this one it? Let's see here. Yes. I shouldn't be telling you this because I'm not supposed to be revealing this information really. It's kind of like how 3 years ago the Inkblot information was released on WikiLeaks. And so now they can't use Inkblots anymore at all because every single one of them was leaked on WikiLeaks thanks to a surgeon who thought it was his duty to do so, and so now that's no longer a valid test. But this is, there's no wrong answer. This is just something that is a yes or no checklist. Let's see here. Let's see here. Prior to your 18th birthday, does any of these, so before you turned 18, does any of the following occur, or has any of the following occurred in your life? And it goes, the first one, did your parents suffer from a divorce? The second one, were you sexually assaulted before the age of 18? The third one, did you witness violence from your mother or father in a physical manner that was implicated in a way that, did you experience violence from your father or mother that was implicated in a way that caused massive bruising or blood? Did your parents often leave you at home to go out and abuse alcohol or other substances? Were you, yes or no? Were your parents abusive of other substances? Yes or no? Let's see here, what else? Did your parents often leave you with strangers for long periods of time without letting you know where they were or what they were doing? Yes or no? Were you ever offered drugs or lived in a neighborhood of low poverty level? Yes or no? And then there's some more on the back, but those are just some of the basic questions. And so with this, here, I'll show you the paper as well, by the way. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but this is literally the questionnaire they use to see if your potential of being a deviant adult is legit or not. And this is literally seen as the golden standard by the psychology, by clinical psychologists. This right here can predict 75% accuracy rating, which is enough to put someone in prison. It's enough to not allow someone to go to college. It's enough to prevent someone from being released from prison or from being able to be socialized back into normal society. And if we're already doing this now, it's only going to get worse. And see, there's another test here as well, but we'll talk about that another day. So you are considered a high-risk individual, and a high-risk individual does not get the same rights. Once you are classified as a high-risk individual by clinical psychologists, it is permanently on your record forever, because statistics has shown if anyone has more than 2 of these, by the way, and it doesn't matter if you only have 3 or if you have all, I think there's 12 on here, you are considered the same high-risk level. And so if you are a high-risk level at any percentage, your chances of becoming a lawbreaker, of becoming an assaulter on someone else, and your chances of breaking social normalities in our country is dramatically increased to the chances that you lose. Like, you pretty much screwed now. So when anyone ever tells you that you know, you're not binded by your parents' actions. That's kind of bullshit from a statistical standpoint. You are straight up bound by your parents' actions. This test right here that is totally not only provided by the U.S. government, but is implicated and used in federal law, definitely shows that your parents' upbringing, the way that you were brought up by your parents, not only has an impact on your thought processes and the way you perceive yourself, but it also has an impact on the way that the world will perceive you. And so in another 50 years, gathering that data will be like that. And so they will already have you targeted as a high or low risk individual. And they will limit the access of your internet. They will limit the access of what you're able to use. If your father's a plumber, you will be a plumber. And they will have to they'll have to like characterize people based on your parents' individual usage is what you are going to do. Like if your mother's a nurse and your father's a plumber, you're probably going to be a plumber, or you're probably going to be a nurse, depending on how smart you are, which they'll have tests you know, to predict that. But I think the worst case scenario, by far, is once the AI gets to the point to where they see humans as unnecessary. Before we get to that point, what will happen is we will look very similar to the Borg from Star Trek. We will have a hive-like intelligence. We will have a hive-like mindset with individual thought processes when we're not at work. We'll be given a break when we're not asleep and not at work, to where we can go out and do relaxing tasks until the AI can properly remove the frontal cortex to the point that we are literally just organic automatons walking around doing as we are told to do. And at that point, there is no humanity left. At that point, we are just organic tissue covering up a bionic intelligence. And I believe that will be the fall of humankind. That will be the end of humankind. And once we get to the point where we get the chips in our brain, we're going to see a huge backlash, because we always do. And the huge backlash will be from people who hold too strongly to their ideologies. And there are some crazy groups out there, you know, and inevitably it's going to, you know, have repercussions, because everyone's going to want it to be done their way, and their way is the only way. And if you don't do it their way, you are the enemy, and the enemy must be destroyed, because we have that dumbass mindset thanks to biology. I am Clayton Justice Sammons. I am a student, and I'm going into the field of clinical psychology. And I personally want to go into the branch of evolutionary psychology, or biology psychology, where I believe things are always based on the evolution, where the reason we are the way we are now is due to evolution, or it's due to the chemical compresses that we relay with simple words like love. Love isn't real. Love is a flush of oxytocin and chemical cocktail in your brain that says, hey, I want to mate with you. And then you mate with the person, and you have a child with the person, and blah, blah, blah. And this is proven because women who have a child and don't hold the child while their body is being rushed with oxytocin do not develop an attachment to the child, and will oftentimes abandon the child, will oftentimes leave the child, or give the child up to adoption. And there's the statistics evidence to prove so. So hospitals always, unless the child is dying of an emergency, unless the child is dead on arrival or has serious complications, will always give the child immediately to the mother as soon as they clean them. They have a 2-minute time frame of the woman birthing the child, to clean the child, to wrap the child up, and to give the child to the mother. And if they do it within the 2 minutes, the chances of that mother holding on to that child until adulthood goes up significantly. And that is all because of the oxytocin boost that the mother has, that bonds the mother with the child. So every time the mother thinks of the child, every time the mother will interact with the child, they'll get a little dopamine release because of nostalgic purposes that brings them back to the time of when they had the child. I'm a huge evolutionary psychologist, and yep, so those are my predictions of the future. That's what I think will be the downfall of humanity. Either that or inevitable heat death, whatever. You think what you want, do what you want. I'm gonna go and get ready for the day. Have a great one. Don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe.